For being a little over 2 years old, the fakest Anarchy server on Minecraft, PurityVanilla, has seen a lot of history in its short existence. From great builds to great ruins, PurityVanilla has lots of builds with a rich history that hasn't seen the light of day. And today, we're going to put a spotlight on a few of these places. If you're an OG player on the server, you'll probably recognize the bases that we're going to see today. So put your seatbelts on because we're going on a world tour of some of the historic Grey faction bases. What is the Grey? The Grey is one of the oldest factions on PurityVanilla, being founded November 9th, 2019 by Dr. Nemo, the original leader, Mr. Fair, Targshark, and Zetchino, all friends of Dr. Nemo. Currently, Needle is the leader of the Grey and has made sure that they focus on their primary mission, helping out Greys. What are Greys? Not to be confused with the faction, the Grey. Greys are players on the server who have default rank, which is in Grey on the online list. Typically, these are new players on the server and the Grey helps out new players, which is probably how they got their name. Now that we got that out of the way, one of the things the Grey does to help out new players is build farms around the world so new players can have food, and that is going to be our first stop on this world tour, Grey Ultimate Farm. This is one of the many farms that the Grey build all over the world. This particular farm was built by Jamul and Moana on July 1st, 2020. It is a sizable farm which features statues that the faction uses as their symbol and includes a variety of crops such as wheat, carrots, and potatoes. The farms are decorated nicely and serve as a safe place for new players to be able to gather food. Recently, another player on the server posted screenshots in my Discord server from their visit to Grey Ultimate Farm. You should totally join, link in the description below. And that visit helped them get access to potatoes and carrots for their own farms. Overall, I believe the farm is doing its function, helping out new players in their quest to survive, so let's head over to our next destination on the trip, Waypoint Alpha. Upon arrival, this base already looks really cool, even though it has been griefed. This base was the first Grey faction base founded November 10th, 2019, only a day after the faction had formed. The faction had started attracting more players and the list of members grew and grew. And when you have any new player join your faction, it's always a test for true trust. At the time, everyone basing at Waypoint Alpha were all still new players. One day, someone decided to steal hoppers from Targshark's chest. He was really unhappy about it, and after some CSI investigation, the four leaders decided to kick out It's Rico, currently an ICP, whether he was innocent or not, and decided to move other players to new waypoints and move console, the four founders at the time, to HQ. This started a basing system that the Grey had for a while: one console base, one spawn base, and several waypoints for trusted but not yet console players. Despite Waypoint Alpha now being compromised, the Grey had moved players to other waypoints and the base became inactive. But the base wouldn't be griefed yet, that came later. It all happened during Exodus, a sad period in Grey history. The Grey were in a war with Confederation, another faction on the server at the time, later known as Ocean Makers, which merged into Empire, a long-standing ally of the Confederation. Empire has since changed their name to NSO, or New Seed Order, and they are still active. Empire leader at the time, It's Freaks, managed to inside the Grey by getting into Spawn Base 3, another base that the Grey had that wasn't on this tour. Although It's Freaks wasn't responsible for the grief of Spawn Base 3, he still incited the Grey to obtain coordinates to use as targets for the Grey versus Confederation war. In addition to having an insider in the base, a new recruit accidentally leaked the coordinates to Spawn Base 3, which rendered a lot of Greys homeless. The Grey decided to invite a select group of players to other abandoned waypoints in hopes the insider wasn't included, and the group of Greys was Frontier Justice, Healthy Carrier, Jamul, Needle, OJ, Polybius, Targshark, and Bin Shooter, It's Freaks alt, were all sent to Waypoint Alpha at this time. The base had gone from active to inactive to active once again. Waypoint Alpha was later griefed in part of the Grey vs. Confederation war, but it wasn't the only base to be targeted during this war. We also have HQ, aka High Quarters. This base was founded only 4 days after Waypoint Alpha on November 14th, 2019. The Grey was still very young at this time, so the base wasn't much at first, but some small farms and small builds, with some big builds like the giant windmill and the Valley of Grey statues. High Quarters served as one of the main bases the Grey used and was active for a very long period of time, which grew bigger and bigger over the months. All the new recruits would build farms and build their houses, and they remained active for quite a long time. Remember those recruits that were sent to Waypoint Alpha earlier? Well, roughly a month after being sent there, they were sent to High Quarters. The console didn't normally promote people this quickly, but the Grey vs. Confederation war was going on, and the Grey needed more members to help fight. Those same recruits, including the Insider, are now at HQ, building their homes, and as Insiders do, Bin Shooter, It's Freaks alt, shared the coordinates with Confederation, and just like Waypoint Alpha, High Quarters went down as another target in the war. High Quarters was the Grey's second biggest base at the time of its fall, Odyssey being the largest but only reserved for council members in the Grey. After the fall of HQ, non-council members had nowhere to stay as the Grey were out of bases to be used, and many recruits went off to do something else on the server or ended up quitting the server instead. So while on this tour, out of nowhere, we were all called to a spot at HQ where the Grey hosted an induction ceremony to officially make Big Mike a part of Grey. Big Mike, congratulations on becoming part of the Grey. I hope your adventures with the Grey are the best they can possibly be. Glory to Grey! We saw some cool historic Grey faction bases today and hope we're able to explore more historic bases in the future. If you like this kind of content, give that like button a crit and subscribe to the channel. Also, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, this is Desto signing out. Peace. If you made it to the end, comment Pop-Tart below.